Our guest today is what we call here in South Africa, imbongi. She is the custodian of our African heritage. She has numerous awards for her albums and many accolades of recognition for the arts and culture in music, fashion, and storytelling. She has traveled the world in the 7 seas, literally, with a Grammy Award-winning Soweto Gospel Choir, and he's collaborated with many artists, especially the latest being Asphelelanga, the production hit by Vosenova. Her work has gained a lot of global recognition, and she's been on a lot of remixes. She has done work with Orca Records in New York, and at home, she has graced lots of our presidential galas and prestigious corporate events. If you don't know who I'm talking about, she is none other than the resplendent, inimitable Jessica Mbangeni. Welcome, sis.
Thank you ever so much, Butwam. Thank you so much for having me. In the name of Africa, my beginning, Africa, my ending.
I mean, if you said nothing, just the way you look, it would be a good African story. But we're in Women's Month here in South Africa. Do you remember the first time you became aware of Women's Month and what it means in South Africa?
Yes, and I thought it was a boring story in the beginning because they were telling me about the unsung heroines. And I didn't appreciate to be part of the unsung heroines because I didn't know what it meant. I wanted to be a superstar, so I would like to tell the stories of the great Brenda Fassers, the Yvonne Shaka Shakas, which were the women that I knew in the entertainment industry. So I didn't know the involvement of women in the struggle. So the late Doris Siwula taught us about her mother. She actually brought in on the production Omamunom Sakaba, who were the superstars of the times, Zabo Velaphi, Nomadlanduna, Omamunombi. So it was more bit attractive, but they were old. So they were not in the mainstream. I wanted to take pictures and post about to the people. And now she's telling us the story about these unsung heroines, these women who were the part of the struggle, who were actually looking about, who were working with Abu Anita Katalia, who marched with those women to the Union Building.
Union buildings.
When she brought us this story, it's a story of her mother, a true story, and she was very emotional about it. Her mother was a traditional healer, and in our culture, traditional healers were not accepted because we were told they are the witches, they are evil. But the women of the society were actually open-minded about the role of the traditional healers. And so her mother had a calling when she was very young. So, and she grew up during the times whereby the girl child was not supposed to go to school, was only supposed to get married, and that's her future. But her mother and the society, her mother's mother refused that her mother should not be educated. So they made an effort, but this calling took hold of her, and she ended up in Johannesburg, in the townships where she was helping. Actually, I think it was the times of it's Sophia Town. When did they move to Soweto?
Well, it was in the 50s. In the 50s, I would suppose.
Yes, during those times. So women were not allowed to go to hospitals to give birth. So her mother was assisting these women as midwives, as a midwife. And she was also assisting other women, teaching them as amatwasa ake, but teaching them more about the women's issues, about the women's diseases, because women have got issues every day. That's why the health centers are very important. It's very important to centralize the systems, to not to be generic, to have the specific health systems that are focusing on women and children. So I learned about Rahima Musa. So it was after I gave birth to my first child. So I gave birth to my son at Rahima Musa, what you call hospital, right here in Joburg. So it brought back to me the realization, why is this is a women's hospital, and these women took care of me when I had postnatal depression, when I felt good, I must give my child away for adoption. But these women there, they encouraged me when they were when I was being brainwashed, I'm a failure. So so it gave me the sense of Rahima Musa's legacy. Wow. Helen Joseph, yeah. Anita Kachalia, Lillian Goyes.
Yeah. But share with us what today, now that you are aware, you know, it's always amazing to hear someone in your position admitting to what they didn't know once, because when you're on stage telling the stories of African conquests and heroes and heroines, it doesn't sound like there's anything you don't know, especially the fluency with which you tell the story. Today, when you look at some of the problems we still face, like gender-based violence, what do you think we need to do to recapture the spirit of those women that you obviously are so in awe of?
We need to open the platforms to write about these women, to bring them to bring their story as her story. We need to write more, and we need to have platforms on the mainstream talking about women. Charlotte Maxeke, the history of Charlotte Maxeke is in Oxford University. So, and Mazi Umamu Charlotte Maxeke, and actually Maxeke is a maiden name. So, Mamu Miriam Makeba, there's only one line about Miriam Makeba, which is not a very good line when we hear about her story from the perspective of Tatu Huma Sekela. So we need to tell positive stories about women. We need to tell positive story about our recent heroine, Umamu Winnie Madikizela Mandela. So every day, women should be telling stories of the women next to them, sense of appreciation. And no matter how little the story is, it has got a point of reference.
And you today, as an artist, as an entrepreneur, as a globe trotter that you are, what would you say your biggest struggle has been? If 1956 had been about past laws and apartheid, what would Jessica Mbangeni having marched to union buildings for or to achieve?
Today, I would march to union buildings for the ignorance of the women's safety. Women are being, they're exposed into gender-based violence every day, and in different ways, whereby they are being discouraged. A lot of vulgar that is exposed, that is always imposed to women, even on the social media, and then people, they take it for granted. Social media is not for the weak hearts. That is violating women's rights. To say something that is vulgar to somebody, it's inhumane. It has to change. We really need to have a positive humor. We really need to trend for the right reasons, because we are building role models. We should be looking at United States of America. It has during this Black Lives Matter. It shows the Americans have been working very hard to build their role models. The Oprah Winfrey's. I think we have failed by not sustaining the legacy of Umamu Felicia Mabuza. We should be having more of Felicia Mabuzas who are standing out, because when we do that, we create a model of development, in an integrated model of development, because socio-economic transformation starts with a character, with a personality, with you as a human being.
Right. I'm now going to ask you to close this conversation for us with what you do best, because I think you can speak and you can sing, but imbongi is something that we don't have enough of in South Africa, and you are the top of the pops. What is your message in your own style for this Women's Month in 2020?
Phambili bafazi, phambili mazezimbele mde, phambili mbokodo, mbokodo ezigaya kucela kuselect lokuhluza kusela kuhluthwe, ikhansi izombela lindlu ka-Afrika, ikhansi unongelemba, phambili bafazi, oh, mind holders of generations, redeemers and releasers of humankind, from stumbling blocks and obstacles of our daily living, women of all dispensations, devourers of truth, love and peace, conceiving it in your righteous heart, giving birth to the life-giving pioneers by not accepting any discrimination, hypocrisy, and low status. Phambili bafazi, now is the time. Elililika labumbano lwabafazi, siqonqa lenyewe yenyala liqanduseleyo lokudlwengula nokubulawa kwabafazi. Elililika lokuba sibumbane singabafazi, siwise isigwebo sentambo phezu kwabadlwenguli nabaxhaphazi nababulali babafazi. Elililika lokuba sihlahle umhlahlandlela, siwuhlahle siwuhlamahlongwane phezulu ukuze siqingqe ikamva eliqaqambileyo le-Afrika now and beyond the COVID-19. We have to create the woman's world, and we are the ones we've been waiting for. Jessica
Mbangeni, thank you very much, and have a happy Women's Month. We will definitely be talking some more, you and I.
Thank you so much, Buddy, for having me.